everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Danny and Troy Show. And boy, we have a beautiful one today, and I'm really excited about it. It is fourth in the series of 7, and we're talking about rehearsals. So, yeah,
It's a daily event. We're rehearsing our own life.
That's right.
Actually, we want to get it right.
Exactly. So, yeah, in the event of coming to this podcast, I've written a little script that I've been developing as we have been running through the series of, developing a monologue, going to auditions, bringing a casting element to
casting session.
And as part of that, I've developed a little brand story, which actually evolved into a poem.
Wow.
So, and this is what I'll be using as the example in this rehearsal themed podcast. But before I get there, I want to touch base on our brand story again. Now, I am a data scientist. Danny is a brand producer. And let us tell you a little bit more about what that means. So a data scientist is just like a normal scientist, but instead of having test tubes and microscopes to play with, we play with the data. Now, the brand producer is the person that comes up with the image and identity of a business. And Danny has expertise coming from Hollywood, coming from international investments, coming from startup scenes and business strategy as a whole. Together.
It's if I may just inject this for a second, is I found myself more and more, if we want to look at the progression of branding, of relying on something more often than not that we call myth, right?
Sure.
The formation of a people's identity, how it translates into its own imagery. It can be folk tales, it can be, Grecian stories, it can be principally any stories that people share in common. Like around here, I'm in North Carolina now, and the state identifies itself as Tar Heels, right? Which goes back to the pine trees that grow here, and then the barefoot people who fought in the Revolutionary War, and who always had pine tar on their heels. And so, it goes back to what people have in common, whether it's statewide, countrywide, you can imagine wherever you are. And so I go back to the basic mythology or folk wisdom of the country that they're in. I'm doing some studies now on folk wisdom in Slavic countries, right? And it's very interesting what pulls these people together. Sometimes they say it's religion, but it comes long before religion. Yeah. And it's the glue that holds people together. And once I know what the glue is that holds you together, what keeps you going every day, that gives you, your own identity, your own image, then we can begin to put the two together. It can be your family history, right? Sure. Could be your history of starting business, how you started, how many troubles you went through, and add flavor to it. Not that it doesn't have flavor already, but in a way in which it tells about your originality. Exactly. What makes you of interest to people. And you know how much people love storytelling, right? Oh, we thrive on it. Absolutely thrive on it. And you have a story too. Everybody has a story.
Yeah, it's our life. And what is a shame is that it, in most cases, sits dormant or is circled in a small crowd of people who know about it. Data science, or the data scientist role, and brand producer have an overlap. And what brings us together is storytelling. It's very important that the data science is like the essence of brand producer. And we evolve our own story, and what, not only just coming together because we both have storytelling in our definitive careers, but Bhutan and gross national happiness is where we came together and found we had some glue. Now, our brand story, the original one, is up on datalogicalservices.com, and it has evolved since then and continues to evolve. And
which is good.
That's right.
Right.
So, yeah.
You know, I want to just say a word about of caution to people because there's so many templates out there. You know, this is how you do it. These big corporations, right? Well, this is how it's done, and we do it better than anybody else, and all that. We're more renegades than that because I don't want to hear the same story over and over again. Turn on any place where you get advertising, and I don't want to hear it anymore because it's all done in the same way. It's not interesting. And it's the same formula, right? Like we say in Hollywood, if it works, beat it to death, right? Until it has no more life in it. Then you'll come up with something else. I think that branding is utilization of everything from marketing, communications, theater, of course, especially, business planning, your life, you know, and there's no separation to try and put people into a mold, right? So you've got a cookie cutter way of doing things. That's death for me. I like to spend the time and the energy and discovery going through things and coming up with the ideal and unique representation of you and what you do and how you express yourself. I don't go to, you know, Price Waterhouse or Deloitte or any of these other people who are pretty much commanding or try to command the way people do things. And in the result is we all feel uncomfortable. We shouldn't feel uncomfortable. We are original. And that's what we want to pronounce.
Exactly.
Because the world would be a dead place if people weren't always coming up with something new. Take Elon Musk, for instance, right? Who in the world could have predicted an Elon Musk? It's impossible, right? But he, being himself, did not let himself hamper himself, right? It was he following his own drummer, the beat of his own drum, and he does that quite well, and that takes a lot of strength.
This is what we see creativity and creative expression being a doorway to remove self-censorship. Once you get into self-censorship, you're actually killing your creativity, and it's a bad place to be. So in order to get to this place of creative and expressive freedom, we have an avenue called brand storytelling. And we are a unique duo of coming from two different worlds, coming together to build a product. And we've got a suite of products that are available now. As I mentioned, this is number 4 out of 7, and we're calling it Rehearsal. So they're focused on helping people get into this creative space and develop it in their business. Now, you don't have to have a business, but it's focused towards those entrepreneurs or startup companies that want to refine themselves and get more exposure and have clarity about what they do.
Or CEOs.
That's right. It helps like anybody who is in this resonates with in terms of self-identity. So the first phase is really around identifying your character, and the second phase is of developing that character, and the third and final is displaying that character. And all these activity kits are centered around helping you achieve that level of awareness and outcome.
Clarity.
That's right.
Clarity. You know, because if you go out there and you try to do it on your own without any practice or without any understanding of what it is you're doing, you're probably not going to do it as well as you would like to do it. Right. And so we've got a couple of hints. You know, this is our reaching out and saying, we've seen enough of it, right? Politicians are the worst. They get in front of a microphone, they don't know how to speak. They don't know what to do. They haven't rehearsed it. You know, I'm not going to point anybody out, but politicians are the worst.
That's
right?
right.
And
Well,
I don't want to perform like a politician performs. They're
exactly.
sorry, they're terrible. Talk shows, whatever it is. These people have had experience. It's very difficult to, follow the line. And
Exactly.
these what we're helping with, what we are giving is our own interpretation of how we go about doing that, telling people who we are, very clear, so they have an understanding and they know what we want. And they can be with us, or at least they'll know who we are and what we stand for. And
Yes.
we can do that, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
If you're interested, we can help you develop your own brand.
That's
In
right.
Taiwan, they call it, personal branding. Okay, you want personal branding? We can do that too, right?
These tips.
You want to brand your company so you have a better understanding. I did that at Pegatron in Taiwan, and
Mhm.
it's like they didn't even know who they were, believe it or not.
It's not that
And that
unbelievable.
included slow. Oh, it is. But you know what? I think a lot of corporations hide behind the mystique. It
Right.
was part of what they wanted was no, 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 we're in the background. We just produce electronics for the whole
Right.
world,
Yeah.
and we don't want people to think, okay, we're Sony or we're HP or whatever because we make products for them. And then, eventually they give away and they do, okay, Pega, they do all kinds of other products because then now they have the expertise and the knowledge of how to distinguish themselves in a market.
Okay.
And, that's the kind of background. I've done it everywhere in Russia, European Union, America. Now we're doing it in Australia.
It's
And, come up, tag along. Let's learn something together.
Yeah, so we are talking about rehearsal and rehearsal, rehearsal, rehearsal. This is not the first time we've actually rehearsed this podcast, for example. So,
Right.
yeah, and inside this podcast, I'm going to be rehearsing my brand story that I've developed around data logical service. It's a different approach to Danny's, as we did once talk about before. And it's not the first time you'll hear this if you have been watching our previous
Mm-hmm.
YouTube podcast. So let me get into it and I'm going to rehearse my brand story. Data Logical Services specializes in business development through brand storytelling. When a tale takes its start from the storyteller's heart to distill the essence of purpose and truth, it weaves through the soul, but not taking any toll, rather crafting its very own fountain of youth. The force to be employed also favors a life enjoyed, none other than the brand story power, unleashed with affection through the collection of DLS's products delivered hour after hour. Define, develop, display, the main character of the play is simply all you have to do. The nature of the beast will come to the feast to have them really value you. This is a defining moment that will never require atonement, a showcase of what is installed. If you go with the flow and let us get to know you, the outcome is an audience enthralled. The ideological purpose of data logical services: make brand storytelling profitable. Measure our sincerity as you listen to this deity, and together we will top the untoppable.
The Ben Johnson of Australia.
So this
Wow.
is something you can come up with as well. It doesn't need to be a poem. Of course, a brand story can take many forms. We like to start with your history, your things you've overcome and the future vision that you have. But it doesn't matter what it is. Rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. And if you're interested in learning more about how to create a brand story for yourself and apply rehearsal as a theme to it, check out datalogicalservices.com/onstage to see our products. The rehearsal kit is up there now. And yeah, let us know what you think. Also, don't forget, I keep forgetting, but I'm just reminding myself, NFTs. We're providing every activity kit. The first person to buy it gets a non-fungible token, which is Shakespearean inspired little pixel art of a unique and creative expression of Shakespeare. Every activity kit is inspired by Shakespeare, and we are using all the world's a stage as our inspiration. And it's
Well,
yeah.
it's clear, Troy, we're busting out all over, right? And
That's right.
that's we encourage, and I won't talk because I want to leave everybody with your expression in your own style,
Great.
and whatever it is you've got, we'll develop it, and to your satisfaction, we'll show you, things about yourself maybe that you didn't even know.
That's
Thank you,
right.
Troy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Danny. You're the inspiration behind this. I wouldn't have been able to do it without us meeting on that, such defining moment of a day in Bhutan back in 2015. The brand producer meets the data scientist, and this is the product that's come forth.
Fireworks.
Thanks everybody for watching, and don't
Wonderful.
forget to subscribe and
Yep.
let us know that you're out there. Check out the
Yep.
products, and there's more coming.
Yeah, be in touch. Okay. Thank you, Troy. Good night. Have a good night.